Hello everyone, I'm Sanyukta Saxena and today's session is on Tangle Quipple. Yeah, it's another Zentangle original and I have posted a couple of tiles on my Instagram. I'll show you during this session, right? So Quipple is quite similar to the Tangle Tipple. It is actually tipple arranged in a certain fashion, yeah, but it looks very nice. It can be used differently, quite just like a filler or even as a standalone pattern, right? So let us first learn how to draw the basic pattern Quipple, and then we should explore it more and draw a tile together, right? So the basic stroke, elemental stroke here is the orb. So I'm going to be drawing some bigger orbs, not necessarily all of the same size, not necessarily perfect orbs, right? And then a little smaller orbs on both sides of these bigger orbs at the intersections, something like onomato, yeah, like this, right? And then I'm going to add some more orbs, a mix of smaller and bigger orbs all around these bigger orbs, like this, yeah. So it's not necessary that it has to be small only, it can be a mix of small and big orbs, and we draw that on both sides just like on a beach, or on a river side you see pebbles in groups lying together in lines, starting from bigger ones to smaller ones, or vice versa, I don't know. But it somewhat looks like that, and it goes well with those kind of patterns. I'll show you a few tiles and you'll get a better picture. So I'm drawing these small tipples on both sides, small and big ones, varying sizes, right? So just filling up the two sides of my center bigger orbs with these comparatively smaller orbs, right? So it's more about arrangement of tipple in a certain fashion, and then I'm just going to aura it, a crinky aura, not a straight line aura, just like broadly outlining the shape of my orbs, not exactly, but yeah, right? Go with the turns, go with the shapes, and broadly outline your outer tipples by an aura. Yeah. So this is basically the pattern Quipple. So very much derived from the tangle pattern tipple, and hence the name Quipple. Yeah. You generally shade these orbs, and you can shade on both sides of the orbs. So shading is again, it's something personal, how you feel like shading at that point of time. Yeah, so there are many ways, but generally these are bigger orbs, so it's a good idea to highlight these orbs or to shade them like dewdrops, or you know caviars or black pearls. All that can be done. You can shade on the outside or you can shade around this. That's your option, whichever way you like it, right? So there are so many ways to go about shading, or you can leave this space as it is and you can shade on the outside of the aura, right? So just an example, you can also add highlights. Let me show you a few tiles, you will get a better picture. So this is a Zendala, and you can see how Mocha is surrounded by Quipple, right? So I have done away with the aura, but our aura is an integral part of this pattern. You can add the aura to the outside and the inside, yeah? So here I have done away with that thing. Again, I have replaced the aura with flux, right? So it is kind of enclosed in flux, right? Yeah, so this is another rendition. So you can see how I've highlighted these center bigger orbs like drops, yeah, droplets. So it looks nice. A simple 3Z tile, just to show you how you can use it as a border also, right? Whether it is a square or a round tile, you can always use it as a border and put something inside. Here it is Indirella. right? So what I was saying is it goes nice with wavy sea waves and kind of tangles which have nice waves. So this is static to sea waves, to diva dance, to this quipple, and then some cobbles. So it looks nice this way also, because the pattern somehow looks inspired from the seaside. Yeah. And similarly this one also, you can see the same tangle sea wave and then quipple on both sides, and some more patterns to go along, right? Simple tile, but you can see how beautiful the pattern looks like. So today also we'll draw a tile, right? Use quipple and probably a few more tangles to go along with it. So let's get started, and I'm just going to first start inverse actually, add some aura first, and then we will fill in the inside with the pattern quipple. Yeah, so I'm first starting with this aura. So there is no standard way. You can have really spread out aura also. It's not necessary that they have to be in a certain fashion. You can just add aura like a map or something. That's okay. So I'll pick up my boulder pen, and then the second line of aura I'm going to add it with my O8, a little thicker one. Yeah, so I have switched my pen here and adding the second layer of aura with my O8 nib. Right, and I will do the same thing on the other side also. So the advantage of keeping the bigger orbs in the center is you can play around with those orbs, give it a nice droplet look, or caviars or black pearls. So that's one advantage, right? So it's always better to keep the center orbs nice and big. So I'm going to start with some big ones like this. Yeah, but they need not all be of the same size. That's not the criteria. It's okay to vary the size, but yes, they will be comparatively bigger than the pebbles, the smaller tipple that you will be surrounding it with. Yeah. So this is again a Zentangle original, and it's real fun to draw single stroke the orbs. You can vary the size of these orbs also. Yeah, so that's okay. They can be bigger, they can be smaller. Make sure you fill up small little spaces in between as you draw the orbs. Yeah, and then the smaller ones. So I'm now going to fill up the rest of the space with comparatively smaller size, but that times mixing with big ones also. Stay within the aura that I have started with. Try not to leave spaces in between. If you still do, fill it up. Right, so I'll just go on like this, right? So continuing with the same process of filling up the leftover space with smaller, bigger, a mix of orbs. I also added a few pearls in between. You can see here it adds a little boldness to your small tipples, right? So you can do a lot of things. You can insert other things also in between. For example, just small little space you can leave there and add something else, right? So just an idea you may want to explore. So just fill up the space, be patient, add smaller orbs, right? So I left a small little space here, and probably we can add some caviars here. So caviars and black pearls, the only difference being caviars have an outer aura. Very similar tangles with a slight difference. Yeah, so you can do that, add a little fun factor. So I'm almost finishing here, adding the last few. Yeah, so you can see how beautiful the pattern looks like. A nice meditation, be patient, add all these tipples patiently, right? So now the rest of the space, again I would say entirely up to us, how do we want to go about, right? So I'm going to add a pattern called Droop. These patterns we have already learned. In case you are new to the pattern, you can always refer to my videos. Yes. So now that I have added that crisscross lines, I'm going to aura each of the sections like this for the pattern Droop. Yeah, so aura each section from the inside, make a V inside each, close aura, right? And then I'm going to add auras like this, curved ones. So you can always add a highlight or you may do away with, entirely up to you. When I say highlight, you can leave a sparkle in between, right? Instead of inking the entire curve. So it looks nice that way also. So let's add a little fun factor, adding a droplet kind of shape inside. Generally you add edge marks, but the first layer I'm adding this droplet shape and inking it in to add some zen, playing around with the original pattern Droop. Right, now moving on to the next layer, again the same thing. Now if you want you can add some highlight here. If you don't wish to, just skip it. I think I'll fill it up, right? Let's see. So here it's more or less drawing behind. Right, yeah. And now if you want you can add those edge marks. So let us add a dot at the end. Again playing around with the original tangle, not going with the classic edge marks, instead adding some fescue like dotted edge marks or lines, whatever you wish to call it. Right, a little fun deviation from the original tangulation. Right, right, now moving on to the second, again more or less drawing behind, spaces are less, so whatever you can draw, just go with that. Right, so I'm going to extend this till the end. Yeah, and now again the same thing, add those edge marks. So make the tangles your own, play around. You'll be surprised to see how many variations you can create with the same set of tangles. Every time it looks different. So it's just a suggestion to draw it in a certain way, just to give you ideas, and then when you explore it more, it's real fun. Yeah, so again little space here. Yeah, that's about it. That is our droop. This section I'll also draw a pattern called Xander that we have already drawn, but I'm going to be drawing it in a different fashion. Yeah, a little different. So I'm not going to break it. Instead, I will break it with these bands. So I'm just going to add some mix of thin and thick lines like this. Right? So a mix of lines. Again at a distance I'm going to again add some thick lines, thin lines. You can break the lines, you can keep the lines as they are. Entirely up to you. Again a thin line, again a thick line. So just varying the width of the lines and adding these lines just like we have in Xander, but in Xander we break the lines. In this one I'm first drawing the lines and then I will draw those bands which will kind of break the lines. So just a different approach to the same tangle. Yeah, so I'm just varying my width of lines that I'm drawing, nothing else. Plain lines. Yeah. And probably a hidden one here. Right? So now that we have done that, now I am going to add this band and ink it. So a little fun version of Xander. Instead of drawing it the traditional way, I felt like drawing it this way. Yeah. Again, we'll do the same for the others also. a little curl at the ends as if it is surrounding the lines, right? So there are lines in between, so I'm not leaving a highlight, else we could have left a highlight also, right? So I'll do the same. Right, so I've done with that exercise. Now the rest of the spaces, again choose a pattern of your choice. I am going to keep it simple and just fill up the space with a pattern called hybrid. Yeah, so I'm just going to use this triangular space and add lines like these. You can add any tangle of your choice, please feel free. The focus tangle here is Quipple. Rest of the tangles, as I keep saying, it is entirely up to you. What do you want to use? So you have your choice. So I'm going with a simple pattern called hybrid here. Again, if you are new to the tangle, you can always refer to my tutorial on these tangles. I have done more than 100 original tangles by now. Right, so I am adding these triangular grid in which I am drawing my hybrid. So Xander is a pattern which provides immense shading opportunity, right? The simpler the pattern actually in Zentangle, the greater the shading opportunity that it provides. I have often observed that in Zentangle patterns. So they look pretty simple, but they have a beautiful 3D effect when shaded. And Xander is also one such pattern. So we shall see that shortly. Right, so I'll just finish this. So I'm done with that exercise also. Let us now move on to shading our tile. Yeah. So as I mentioned, these bigger orbs you can always shade like droplets, right? So I have shown you quite a few times, I think by now, how to shade droplets. I'm adding an inner aura, leaving a small space inside and adding some graphite under it. Right, an aura, a small space inside and graphite under it. I'll just zoom in a little more. A small space and some graphite underneath. Yeah. So add a close aura inside your pen orb and then add a little graphite under the small little section that you have left. Like this. Yeah. And then Droop is always a good idea to add shade on the V. Right, so I'm just adding graphite on the sides of each section. So don't add too much because spaces are small, so you don't want the entire section gray. You want a white in between. Yeah. Then I'm going to add some at the edges of my quipple. Make sure this white remains white, the double aura. The gap will look nice if it shows clearly. So just carefully add graphite inside the inner aura, right? Yeah. And then Xander, you can choose one side, that side or this side, and just add some thick graphite on one side, right, like this, and a little on this side, not much, light. You can also add graphite under these bands, right? So let's see if we want to do that, because we don't want too much of gray also. Right? So let us first blend. So for the pearls or the dewdrops, I am using a very fine stump, right? Because I don't want to blend too much. So I am just going to take it easy and just blend it a little, because I want a white highlight also, right? So you don't want to be blending too much, because you want this white space also to show, right? So just take it easy and slowly blend. If you can manage to do that with your original stump, good. Otherwise you can pick up a thinner Totlon which has a sharper edge. Yeah, right? So that's about the drops. So we can now switch to our original stumps. Now going to blend the edges. Make sure the center is white, because we would like to highlight it. So blend, but don't blend too much. Keep it to the edges only. Yes. Then blending the droop. Two sides. Leave the center white. It will add a nice 3D effect. The sections look like they are curled up. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think that's about the droop. Now coming on to our Xander. So just put the graphite away. So I think you can already see the 3D effect, right? They are almost popping out. You can make it a little more darker. Add a little graphite under. Again, re-emphasizing the dark. Right? If you want, you can add a little touch under the lines, but don't add too much. You don't want the entire thing gray, probably a few places. Yeah. So we'll now pick up our chalk pencil and add a little highlight on the other side of the Xander. Yeah, and then here. Right, and then probably the center of your droop. So now just pick up another blending stud and soften the graphite, the chalk. Just trying to give a high and low effect. That's it. And yeah, I think we are done. That's our tile for today, right? If you want, you can add anything, right? You can add something more like uh, some of these caviars or black pearls coming out and floating on your hybrid, right? So you can do endless things. So let us stop here. Yeah, I'm going to close my tile here, add my chop inside this. Yeah, where is it? Here it is. Right, so that's the tangle pattern quipple, our tangle for today. Hope you enjoyed drawing the tile, and I'll see you again with another Zentangle original or probably a new series. Till then, have a good time, stay safe, bye bye.